Welcome back to the Best Team series. Today we are doing the Best Team for Sinnoh. As always, we will be taking 6 Pokemon through the Sinnoh Pokedex and making them into a team that is best suited to take on the player's Sinnoh journey. We will be taking into consideration how each of these 6 Pokemon will do against the rival, gym leaders, Elite Four members, and evil teams. Trying to find the best team though is definitely not an easy task to do, so I brought some help to take on this job.
What's up guys, my name is Speqtor and today I'm going to help show you guys which team is best suited to accompany you through the Sinnoh region. Sinnoh is an incredibly diverse region in terms of types, featuring unique gym and Elite Four typings, as well as a champion with a well-varied and hard-to-beat team, so a lot of thought had to go into building this team. While we know there are tons of popular choices among the Sinnoh region like Staraptor, Luxray, Roserade, and Garchomp, we had to look past popularity and common choices to really figure out what is really best suited to use in this region.
As always, we have provided movesets for these Pokemon in terms of their viability in certain situations. So as we go through each member of our team, we will provide what we feel as the most prominent movesets, taking full advantage of their move pools. The movesets we will be providing though will be their finalized movesets. Note that egg moves and tutor moves will not be taken into consideration because of how hard they are to get.
One last thing is that we will not be including any Pokemon that are exclusive to any one game in the Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum series, since we want this team to be accessible no matter which version you decide to play. So sorry if you wanted to see Honchkrow, Mismagius, or anything added in Platinum.
So now since we have taken care of our introduction, let's hop into making this team. So as always, players need to start a Pokemon. We feel that the best starter Pokemon is Chimchar.
Arizo and I recently discussed over on his channel which starter is best suited to bring through the Sinnoh region, and spoilers, we decided it was Chimchar. Chimchar just has a few more advantages over some of the most important characters and events in the game than the other starters do. Quite honestly, it's the only real choice in a fire Pokemon at all, since the only other choice is Ponyta, and anything else like Houndour, Magmar, or Numel are either Platinum exclusive or are available post-game. Plus, the added fighting typing when Chimchar evolves really sweetens the deal. Just make sure you evolve it before taking on Roark for some nice stab Mach Punch.
So now you have your starter Pokemon. Most of you must be thinking, let's go get our flying Pokemon. Not today, because we're going to Valley Windworks and picking up Shellos, and then later evolving it into Gastrodon. Gastrodon is probably one of the best water Pokemon in the Sinnoh region due to its secondary ground typing and having its only weakness being grass. Gastrodon has very balanced stats aside from its speed, but let's face it, it's a mollusk. Gastrodon is obviously Infernape's main resistance when it comes to taking a lot of its weaknesses. Gastrodon does well against a lot of our main problems to Sinnoh as well. To start off with gym leaders, Gastrodon does well against Byron and Volkner. Against Barry, it does well against his Ponyta line, and once its starter evolves into Empoleon, it does well against that with its ground typing. Next up we have the evil teams, and it does well against all 3 of the members, mainly consisting of poison Pokemon. Ones to note are Jupiter's Skuntank and Saturn's Toxicroak. For Cyrus, it can be used against his Houndoom, but that is Platinum exclusive only. Finally, for the Elite Four, Gastrodon does well against Aaron's Drapion, Bertha, Flint, and Cynthia's Lucario.
For this Pokemon, if you're like me, you prefer the EC form, which isn't available until around the time that you challenge Crash or Wake. Luckily, you don't really need Shellos until it's time to surf over to Kanalave City, which places the EC form right in the perfect time frame. For the sake of this video though, let's assume that you decide to pick up the West Sea form since you can get it much sooner at Valley Windworks. Let's strap up our Salty Slug with some stab moves. Shellos is fortunate enough to have access to Water Pulse the second you're able to catch it, which makes a good go-to water type attack until you have access to Surf, or Muddy Water if dedicated HM moves aren't your style. Once it reaches level 30 and evolves into Gastrodon, some good options for stab ground moves are Mud Bomb, which it previously learned as a Shellos, or, of course, Earthquake.
Next off, we have some coverage moves that are a definite must. First, we have Ice Beam, and that pretty much covers its only weakness being grass. Only used when extremely necessary though, because unfortunately, Gastrodon doesn't outspeed a lot of Pokemon. Ice Beam is also very viable against Cynthia's Garchomp, being quad weak to Ice. Blizzard is also another option if you want, but Ice Beam is just so much better having that 100% accuracy. Lastly, we have Sludge Bomb for its last move. Honestly, Gastrodon does not have the biggest move pool in the world, so we thought Sludge Bomb would work best. It has pretty decent damage and has a 30% chance to poison a Pokemon, which can be pretty handy when it comes to taking on some defensive Pokemon, and you want that extra residual damage. Having 2 coverage moves that cover its only weakness is not a bad thing neither, especially when they both have the chance to freeze or cause extra damage with a chance to poison.
Now it's time to pick up our flying type, and of course, it's easy to see who we picked. You know it, you love it, it's Drifblim. Okay, hear me out. Staraptor is definitely the most popular choice because you get access to Starly so early on, and because it's got really great stats. The problem is that where Staraptor shines Infernape already covers. Staraptor's flying type moves do well against grass types, and its access to close combat definitely helps, but Infernape already covers both of those problems, which makes Staraptor a pretty redundant choice. Drifblim, however, has more advantages. It's available at the same time as Shellos at Valley Windworks, its ghost typing makes it immune to Maylene's fighting type Pokemon, Spare, Machoke, and its Rock Tomb, and has access to moves like Thunderbolt, Psychic, and even Gyro Ball via TM, giving it more options than Staraptor.
So now let's get into our moveset with this odd balloon. To start off, we obviously need a stab move, so the best one we can obviously think of is Shadow Ball, and having an earlier move being Ominous Wind. Its ghost typing definitely helps out against Fantina's team as a whole. Just be careful of getting hit by ghost type attacks. The last person it really does well against with its ghost typing is Lucian with his psychic Pokemon. Just watch out for his Pokemon that have ghost type coverage attacks. Another note worth mentioning as well is its ghost typing is well against Flint's own Drifblim. For its next stab move we have Fly, and an earlier move being Gust, which is pretty much the only flying move it actually does get other than Defog. In its early Drifloon days, Gust does well against Gardenia and Maylene's team. Just watch out for Maylene's Machoke with Rock Tomb. For Barry's team, Gust and Fly are great options for his Roselia, Roserade, and annihilates his Heracross. Just be wary of Night Slush. For evil teams, we honestly recommend not using it period, as the majority of the admins in Cyrus's Pokemon are Dark type. However, if it is a must, the player can use its flying moves on Saturn's Toxicroak if need be. Just be aware of Feint Attack. Finally, we have the Elite Four, where its flying moves come in handy against Aaron's Bug types and Flint's Infernape. Just watch out for Thunder Punch. Honestly though, with Infernape's speed, it's not worth it. Gastrodon can do a better job.
For coverage moves, there isn't much in terms of covering Drifblim's weaknesses. Silverwind makes an okay option for dealing with dark types if you're brave enough, and Gyro Ball helps cover rock and ice types if you're even braver. Drifblim's Learn set is better suited to cover anything your other team members can't cover. Thunderbolt, Thunder, and Shockwave are all great choices depending on your focus between accuracy or power. Psychic can help in a bind and makes great use of Drifblim's decent special attack. It could also be worth it to experiment with moves like Hyper Beam, Giga Impact, or even Explosion as a last-ditch option. Drifblim's real use comes with moves like Facade if you predict a status ailment, Toxic and Will-O-Wisp to help with chip damage, and even a Stockpile set if you're willing to sacrifice an extra move slot, though we don't totally recommend it. Drifblim is an unconventional and yet very unique and very helpful choice.
So now it's time for our fourth Pokemon team member, being Bronzor, and then later evolving into Bronzong. Bronzor can be obtained right after completing Eterna City and attaining the Bike. It can be found in Wayward Cave. Bronzong is honestly one of the best Pokemon in the Sinnoh Dex when it comes to typings, as still resist almost everything in Generation 4, aside from Ground and Fire. But with both of its abilities, either one of these weaknesses are taken care of, with either Levitate or Heat Proof, depending on how the player wants to use Bronzong, and honestly both are very good choices. But we recommend Levitate more because we already have enough fire resistances. Bronzong's defenses are very amazing, allowing it to be one of the best walls in the Sinnoh games, having both of its defense stats very close to one another. Its attack stats are nothing to laugh at either, considering it is a more defensive Pokemon. Bronzong's move pool is also amazing, having some really good moves both offensively and defensively.
Bronzong's advantages don't lie with any one gym leader or important character, except maybe Maylene or Candace. It goes pretty much even against most other opponents, spare Team Galactic thanks to their tendency to use poison types and dark types, which Bronzong is either immune to or takes neutral damage to, thanks to the steel typing resisting dark types in Generation 4. Its usefulness comes from its defensiveness and knack for setting up things like Stealth Rocks, Trick Rooms, or just stalling out or walling opponents. Obviously, with a Pokemon that is so defensive, offensive moves shouldn't be a main focus. And while Bronzong's physical attack is 10 points higher than its special attack, Bronzong learns no physical psychic moves, so your options are either a special or mixed set if you want to make full use of its typings. Regardless, moves like Flash Cannon or Gyro Ball if you decide to go the mixed route are good options. Extrasensory and Psychic make good stab psychic options. From here you can either set up Bronzong for coverage or for setting up.
So for coverage moves or setup moves, Bronzong has quite a few options. Rock Slide is good for this fire Pokemon. Grass Knot is good for taking out those ground types if you chose to have Heat Proof over Levitate. We honestly don't recommend using Rock Slide against fire types, because regardless of Heat Proof, Bronzong can still take damage. Having that Grass Knot though can be very handy against Crasher Wake's team. Bertha's team with the Levitate ability, the early stages of Barry when he has his Prinplup, and if you're taking on Cynthia's Milotic in Pokemon Platinum. Shadow Ball is another option as well, being good against Lucian's Psychic types, and being able to quad resist his Psychic attacks and only taking neutral damage from his coverage moves. For setup, Calm Mind is the best to take advantage of those awesome defenses, and being able to just set up so it's able to hit harder. Honestly, setting up and having that extra coverage aren't bad at all. The player can choose either way, and Bronzong will still be great. You can even have a combination of the two, so for its final moveset, it's totally up to the player's preference.
For our next Pokemon, we decided to take a page out of Team Galactic's book and nab ourselves our own Poison type, Drapion. We're aware that Poison types didn't really have a practical use until the dawn of Fairy types, aside from poisoning. The thing to keep in mind here is that Drapion has no problems against pretty much every other important character, aside from Bertha. Thanks to its Dark typing, it also eliminates a possible weakness to Psychic types, and its Poison typing helps eliminate its Dark weaknesses, making it only weak to Ground type moves. Not to mention that Drapion has access to the Sniper ability, making Drapion's Cross Poison or even Night Slash should you decide to take the Egg move route are a force to be reckoned with. Plus, you can find its pre-evolution fairly early in the mid-game around the 4th or 5th gym, giving you ample time to train your little creepy crawly badass.
For Drapion's moveset, it has some very good stab moves, being Cross Poison and Crunch for its main ones, and moves like Poison Fang and Knockoff beforehand. Its stab moves don't really do good against any of the gym leaders unless you get Drapion level 40 before Fantina and then it destroys her. The next trainer it does really well against is Lucian's Psychic team, and it pretty much takes care of that with ease. The unfortunate part about Drapion is it doesn't get those powerful moves like Cross Poison and Crunch until the end game towards the Elite Four. Settling for Poison Fang and Knockoff isn't bad though. They're still fairly powerful, especially with Drapion's great attack stat, and being able to hit fast with its 95 speed. Its stab moves are definitely very good, but its coverage attacks are also great.
One thing Drapion also has over most Pokemon is access to every elemental Fang move, giving you a wide range of options to choose from in terms of coverage. Give it Ice Fang to counter its weakness to ground types, and provide aid if you find yourself in a pinch with Bertha or Cynthia's Garchomp. Give it Thunder Fang for added team coverage against flying types like Cynthia's Togekiss and Platinum, if that's what you're playing, or water types like Berries and Polion. Give it Fire Fang to help back up Infernape if ever it's needed, and give it an advantage over the many Bronzors and Bronzongs used by Team Galactic, as well as Cyrus's Weavile. For our set, we've decided to give it Ice Fang, since we want to be able to cover Drapion's weakness to ground types.
This last Pokemon may kind of surprise some of you guys. Snover and Abomasnow are our last Pokemon on the team. Snover can be found on Route 216, right after the player makes its way out of Mount Coronet towards Snow Point City. We decided on Abomasnow because we felt we needed another Pokemon that can take care of ground weaknesses, and in all honesty, after scoping out the Sinnoh decks, we decided on Abomasnow because we felt we needed another Pokemon that can take care of ground weaknesses. We came to a conclusion that the Abomasnow line was the best option despite it having so many weaknesses. Roserade could have been another option, but we didn't want another poison type. Drapion just does a better job. Throughout the games, grass typing honestly isn't all that great. Abomasnow on the other hand has access to ice moves, and has its grass typing in case they absolutely need to be used. Basically what we were trying to say is that Abomasnow can play Roserade's role better than it can while taking care of its poison typing with Drapion. Honestly, the ice typing just helps out the type coverage a lot because of the holes in their team. Weavile is another ice option, but the only good ice move it gets is Avalanche. Abomasnow outclasses that easily with its access to a lot better special ice type attacks. Weavile's special attack is awful.
Abomasnow has a great advantage over a fair amount of important characters near the end of the game when Snover becomes available, so it needs a good set of stab moves to make good use of its unique typing. Snover will naturally know Ice Shard when you first encounter it, which is a great ice option at first, since Snover and Abomasnow are pretty balanced in terms of stats. Ice Shard can eventually be upgraded to Ice Beam, Blizzard, Ice Punch, or Avalanche to make use of Abomasnow's not-so-shining speed. Stab ice moves give Abomasnow an advantage over Barry's Roserade and Staraptor, the swarm of Zubats, Golbats, and Crobats used by Team Galactic, and even Cynthia's Garchomp in a pinch. Man, a lot of these are against Cynthia's Garchomp in a pinch. That thing is so overpowered. Just watch out for her Garchomp's Flamethrower in Platinum and Brick Break in Diamond and Pearl. Anyway, some great stab grass options are Grass Knot, Energy Ball, Giga Drain, or my personal favorite, Wood Hammer. I mean, come on, it's a tree Yeti. Grass-type moves may not have very many uses, but Abomasnow uses them well whenever it can, primarily against Bertha's entire team as well as Cynthia's Gastrodon and Milotic.
So for coverage moves, honestly one of the best options is Water Pulse, and even with this move, it should only be used in certain situations. Abomasnow's speed isn't all that impressive. On top of that, why would anyone put an Abomasnow into battle fire types? Our final move we recommend is Brick Break. It takes care of its Steel type coverage and can help out against some trainers' important Pokemon. Brick Break can be used on Candace's team, Barry's Empoleon, Cyrus's Weavile, and even Cynthia's Lucario. Just watch out against those coverage attacks. Like we always say, only use these for a last resort. Well, that pretty much wraps up the best team for Sinnoh. This team we feel is honestly a very well balanced team in terms of helping a player on their Sinnoh journey. What do you guys think though? Did we forget any Pokemon? Share them with us in the comment section below. I also wanted to thank Speqtor for helping me build the Sinnoh team.
Hey man, glad I could help. It's unfortunate that some of the awesome Pokemon that were added to Generation 4 didn't really get any love. Luckily, we did a video on my channel talking about our top 10 favorite Generation 4 evolutions, so click this annotation or tap the iCard above to head over to my channel to check that out.
With all that being said though, I've been Mrs. Gumbrion, and I will see you in the future for more Pokemon content.